That's okay. Tony, would you like to kick us off in the absence of our head of inclusion?
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if anyone can see me or not. I can't see myself. I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah, I can see you,
Tony.
Tony.
Okay. I can't see anybody, so I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Tony Bailey. I'm Assistant Director for SEND and Inclusion across Peterborough and Cambridgeshire, and I lead the service, but I don't do any of the work, as it were. The people who are going to talk to you about their services at this meeting will be able to tell you a lot more about what they do. However, wherever the service needs support from myself, I try to make myself available to make sure they've got the resources and the support that they need in order to do what they can. I'm really pleased and proud of the service that we've got in Peterborough. We've got some fantastic people with amazing experience and skills. And I think without further ado, we're going to go through the services and outline what they do so that you have an awareness of who the people are, what services are available to parents and young people, and what the system looks like and how it all joins together. Hopefully that's what the process of this is you to understand. Okay.
Tony, do you want me to add on that a little bit about this brochure as well, about the creation of it? We've always had a SENI service brochure for the SENI Inclusion Service, but through like COVID, actually, we revamped this brochure as a service in partnership with the SEND Partnership Service and Family Voice, and we made it quite so it's standard for each service within our SENI services. We've also included their referral routes, and then we also included in there from feedback from settings and wider services, some frequently asked questions to try and break down where we might help. And this has also helped our settings across Peterborough. Towards the end of the document, I think it's page 27, you'll also see on there all of the settings in Peterborough listed, and the allocated link offices. We really try our hardest to cover for any, there's always changes in services, but we try our utmost to ensure that our settings have a clear overview of the link offices that are attached to their setting. And for 2 years now, so we'll be going into our 3rd year, the SENI Inclusion Service have what's called a SENI planning meeting. It is offered, not compulsory, to all settings where their link officers will join in a large meeting with the setting to discuss and troubleshoot with the setting, look for any patterns with them, and really to introduce ourselves as well as a SENI Inclusion Service, because we might be small in terms of a SENI service in a local authority, but we are quite mighty, and we do have quite an offer here. So hopefully when we are working with our settings, when there has been turnovers of staff in our schools or with our wider stakeholders, we would really welcome, especially you as Family Voice or parent carers, to share this brochure. This is on the local offer. We share it. I share it most days to people because we want to be as transparent as possible, not just with our parent carers and young people, but with our stakeholders, so we can get that quick support, and people know how to contact us very, very quickly. So yeah, hopefully that supports you here. It is updated actually throughout the year as much as we can to reflect staff changes as well. So please do keep an eye on that local offer for updated documents here. And for those of you who don't know who I am, I've just spoken and you might not know who I am. I'm Jess Conway, and I am the Area SENCO, part of the SENI Inclusion Service here, and work with all of the teams in the service and settings across Peterborough. So any feedback on the brochure itself? please do let us know, because we are currently updating it, ready for the September, for the new start of term. So any comments, feedback, we will take it on board. So please do put anything in the chat, or I will send you. I'll put my email in the chat as well, so if you could let me know, that would be brilliant. So yeah, shall I pass it over? So the first service on here that we cover is the Autism Advisory Service. So Claire, as a manager in that team, is on here. In fact, actually, do you want to just go up to the management overview there? I think what we decided to do is put all of our mug shots on here. So people, because it's always nice to see your face as well. So as you've seen there, the head of our SENI Inclusion Service has recently moved on. I'd say retired, but you wouldn't quite like that. So she's moved on, and we are currently in a transitionary period in getting a new head of service, hopefully next month. So once we get all the details, that will be on there. But you can see the rest of us managers. We are not a big team actually, but again, we are as mighty as possible. So there's all of our pictures. Any comments on the management structure within the SENI Inclusion Service?
I was about to ask, where does Jill Groutage fall into that?
Oh, where does Jill? I know Jill Groutage recently retired at Christmas.
Oh, so, right, okay.
Yeah, Deborah, you've opened a wound there. Jill retired at Christmas, and as some of you might know, Jill, she's been in the service a very, very long time. Jill was the head of the specialist teaching services, but now who worked closely with Jill for years. You've got Claire Nunn here, who's the manager of the Autism Advisory Service, and Sarah, who's the manager of the Sensory and Physical Support Service. The rest of Jill's role, Jill done a lot, but we now have appointed our new, what's called our new SEND Hub coordinator role, because Jill oversaw the hubs and school support role. And Helen McGann, who now is in the chat here, joined us 2 weeks ago. So we'll be picking up some of Jill's role as well. Thanks,
yeah, Jill was very good. She did our training when we did the Signet training. So.
Oh, she's enjoying retirement, Deborah.
Yeah.
Too well.
She's looking amazing on it. All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it.
She is, yeah, so she's enjoying retirement now, Jill. But yeah, so we have filled up some of Jill's role with Helen McGann, the hub coordinator, and then the rest of it, you've now got Claire as the head of the Autism Advisory Service and ADHD team. So yeah, we have had Colby Botha, who was our principal EP, also retired at Christmas. So we've now got Alison Tolson, who's in the chat as the principal EP. But again, Alison's been in the service for many years. So we'll go through that service when we get there. So there has been quite a number of changes actually. But we knew they were coming. We knew they were retiring. So we planned for that.
Okay. Katie, is Katie Blessett on today?
I think she's joining, but if not, when we get to,
if I buzz down, then Clara, she is there.
Yeah, and then if not, I can do the SAM service.
Okay, Claire, over to you.
Okay, so we've had quite a turnover of staff, including Jill leaving us off into the land of retirement. So there are a few new members of staff. As you can see, we've got Donna, who hasn't even got a photograph yet, but she's come from Helpweight and she's just out and about. She only started with us a couple of weeks ago, but we've already got her to work and working with some youngsters already. So we've a mix of teachers and learning support assistants within our team. We've also got Claire Seymour, who is our ADHD teacher. Just going to say that she is a part-time person. She only works 1 day a week for us at the moment. So we have got other staff who will be covering as well for youngsters with ADHD and autism. Okay, so we are quite a small team, a very productive team, and a lot of you will know us because we pick up at the transition points of going into school, and the year 6, 7 to transition, and also year 11. And you know that we keep children in the fact that we're aware of you and we track them, and that's part really good with the SENI planning meetings, because every year we have a sort of head count and a check how every child in Peterborough is doing. And then we also have our request for involvement, which as parents, you and the school ask us to pick up pieces of work, and then we will go in and do bespoke pieces of work with those youngsters. We've also got a lot of training that's going on into schools at the moment, so any school or education setting can ask us for training at any time. And we are also doing 3 sessions a term. We've got one coming up about diagnosis. We did one on Tuesday night about anxiety. We've got some on differentiation. We've got some about sensory environments and things. So we are doing a regular sort of turnover of staffing. They're all virtual. They are open to parents and carers as well as schools, because we're very much about seeing the whole child and putting everything together for that youngster. Okay, we also work closely with the speech and language team and the OTs and CAMS, of course, and the emotional wellbeing. So we do try very hard to sort of put all the package and everything together for everybody. Okay, so we've got a mix of staff with, you know, they've got a really high skill and knowledge base, and it is very much about looking at that youngster at time. I'm just looking at this and thinking, I do need to update some of this because Lisa sadly has left us, but we have got Donna who is there. So I just need to update and change this a little bit as we go through. Okay, so, you know, we do that. We also do the parent carer consultations, which are every fortnight for ADHD and for autism. And again, you know, as parents and carers, you can just book on, they are confidential. And you can book on and have a slot with a member of staff. If Tuesday doesn't suit, because we do them on a Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, normally staff are very accommodating and they will fit you in according to when you're free and available. Okay, so, you know, they are available every fortnight during term time for those discussions and the support. Okay, you know, a lot of it, and I think a lot of you have got our newsletters as well, which are coming out every half-termly on there. We've also got some sessions for parents who are starting school in September, and also for our year 6 to 7 parents that are going to be repeated sort of twice. So we're going to do sort of post-school one and one during the school day as well, because we realise it's difficult trying to get everybody together, isn't it, at the set time. But I think having the opportunity of virtual meetings and things makes it a lot easier for people just to drop in and listen. Sometimes while you're doing other bits and pieces, you can listen to that. Okay, Alison, you've changed it all over onto your early years.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
It's fine. I was like, it's all gone. It's all gone.
I was just trying to get a flyer ready for my bit.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. I think that's all really I wanted to say about our service. You know, we are very bespoke. We will adapt to what you as families and carers want. So please, you know, if there are areas that you feel we're not supporting you with, or that we're lacking, or the schools are lacking in information and training, please just talk to us. Okay, so how do you book a session? Thank you. You just book a session by calling the number for the parent carer sessions, and somebody will take your details and then we'll contact you back. Okay, at the moment we're doing phone call conversations rather. We used to do meetings at the City Care Centre, but feedback has been that parents prefer just having a phone call or having a Teams meeting, and we'll do either. Okay, the other way to access us, if it's school support you want, would be through a request for involvement form, which the schools have all got. And you can ask your school, or you can email me directly and say you'd like, you know, some support for your youngster in school. We can talk through the options, and we can, you know, meet together with school, and we can do a form and come in and do the work. Okay.
And Claire, just to note as well, the parent consultations, the data all sent out through our communications to settings as well. So we're hoping that they're promoting with their parent and carers. and the request for involvement to request for that specific advice that comes through the setting. Again, that's all shared with
And
settings.
everything's on the local offer page as well. So all the phone numbers and everything for everybody are on the local offer page.
So if you could promote that as well to any parent carers that you're aware of, or you're not clear if it's come through the school and the school don't feel quite confident there, if you could raise that, then that we would be happy to follow up and have that conversation with them.
And we do, you know, present every time at the SENCO forums as well. So any new things that are coming up, you know, go to the SENCO forum. So today we've just sent a flyer out, or we've asked the health to send a flyer out for sharing a diagnosis. We're doing a session for parents and schools and colleges and things about sharing a diagnosis, how to share a diagnosis, when, what resources to use, you know, how to support a youngster who doesn't want their diagnosis. Yeah. So we've just literally sent out a flyer for that, because that's happening in June. I think it's June the 14th or the 15th. Okay. So we would normally request for a youngster to have a diagnosis rather than just traits. If there are particular issues, it's always worth just dropping us a line or school a line, and we can have a discussion, because sometimes, you know, we're aware there's huge waiting lists for diagnosis, and a lot of children don't get all the ticks in all the boxes for a full diagnosis, but it doesn't mean that they don't have issues in those areas. So we're always willing to support and chat to parents and to education settings about those children who you say have got traits. You know, they have got difficulties and issues in those areas, but again, all of our training is readily available for anybody to access at any time. So if there is training, like the training on anxiety that we did the other week, we're not saying to people, you can't come if you haven't got a diagnosis, etc. We are very much, you know, we're putting on the training, please come and access it. And it's all free as well. I've got to say that. It's free for the school settings, and it's free for parents as well to join us. So do.
On that, Claire, you might also want to mention that the amount of work that your support your service provides to some of our SEND hubs to support that building resilience across the city. We've got 3 ESC hubs. I don't know whether that's worth mentioning.
Yes, yeah, we've got 3 hubs. We are planning to open another 2 over the next sort of year or so. Okay, so we are growing that resilience. We've also got lots of schools who we are putting in quite bespoke provision into their SEN departments, because they have got quite high numbers of youngsters with autism and ADHD. So we are also not just working with the hub schools, but working with our other schools, doing some quite intensive support in to schools. So this morning I've got 2 members of staff out doing some training at one of our secondary schools about the 5-point scale. So that's just an example of what is going across. So it's not just individual work we're doing, there's an awful lot of training and modelling going on. Okay, so it's an ever-evolving project, isn't it? We're all in this together, and we're all pushing things and moving things forward. And I think that general acceptance that we are getting more youngsters with neurodiverse, complex profiles, you know, we're needing to encourage everybody to have that toolbox of skills and abilities to work with our youngsters.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you very much.
Zara's not in work at the moment, no.
Would you like to just introduce her team for
Okay, yes, of course. So Zara Brighton is the manager of the sensory and physical support service. So we have changed, I'm just going to say it's changed, the word in the vocabulary has changed from hearing impairment to teachers of the deaf. So just to be aware, you know, if you hear that quoted out, you're the teachers of the deaf, that is a change of sort of policy and name, okay? And the vision impaired people. So again, a mixture of staff. You know, they have just appointed new, because they've had some retirements as well. So they've had a new functional vision assessor has been appointed, but they're just waiting to come into post. There's 2 VI teachers, Emma Green and Julie, And then there's a host of Teach the Deaf. I've got to say that Cheryl, bless her, is imminently awaiting the arrival of her baby. So she's currently on maternity leave. And of course, we've got Alex, we've got Claire Edwards, we've got Karen Fallon and Debbie. So Caroline is the teacher of physical disabilities. So she does a lot of work with our youngsters with physical disabilities in the hubs and also wider across the city. So if schools require moving and handling training and things, she can advise and support on that. She's also doing a lot of work at the moment about equipment and the sharing of equipment that children with physical disabilities need. And there's going to be quite a change on that we're communicating to schools. So again, they do a range of youngsters. They work, you know, with children from birth all the way through. Unlike ourselves, they do have sort of caseloads of youngsters and things, but also they're doing a lot of training across the city like we are, and a lot of equipment and technical support is provided. What's going to say that, so there is a lot of training. They've got a lot of material on the local offer page as well. They've got some videos and things that is all up there. So again, have a look at the local offer page. They do a lot of support into the schools, the preschool visits and things. Home visits are back happening. So there's lots happening within Zara's service as well at the moment. Okay.
Can somebody please admit Katie?
Okay. Again, like ourselves, they've got a number of hubs which are changing a little bit at the moment. There's a little bit of change in that the VI hub at Arthur Mellows will be going and moving across to St John Fisher's. Okay, so that will become a sensory hub. And again, you know, a bit of adjustment on places and things to recognise the need and things across the city, because things do change, populations change, needs change. And again, you know, we're just reflecting that in what is happening across in our hubs as well. Okay. So again, email Zara if you've got any problems or issues. Their information again is on the local offer page. They again send newsletters and things out, and they're always there and willing to pick up and respond to your needs. Okay.
Thanks, Claire. That's really helpful. Let me see. So have we got Sarah?
No, I don't think, I'm not sure if Sarah's able to join actually, but I think has Katie been let in yet? Do we know who's got control of the Zoom, just to let Katie bless it in? I know she's waiting.
Shall I talk about Sarah's service as well then?
Yeah,
you
may as well, yeah.
So
I just contacted our family voice Peterborough. She's responsible for this, so I'm just waiting. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Right. So Sarah is our early years SEN specialist and portage manager. So they pick up youngsters that are going through the early help pathway who are already been recognised as having quite significant needs. Yeah. So they do, you know, home visits into settings. They will advise settings on their needs and what they need to put in place. They will work with families. So a lot of their support is about doing DLA, looking at equipment, looking at those early stages of child development. So they're a really valuable way of families being able to access that first level of support. They do, you know, a lot of it is home visiting, but they're also doing some regular sessions in some of our children's centres. Following COVID times, you know, they started doing some visits in children's centres, and some families are saying that, you know, they prefer to visit somebody or have somebody support them in a children's centre rather than doing a home visit. And therefore they'll be continuing with working the children's centres and also doing some home visiting. It's also worth noting that they do some fantastic preschool groups for toddlers and babies that families join as well. And I forgot to mention that Zara's team do that as well. So again, you know, rather than being isolated with your child and their needs, it's really important that you have opportunity to meet with other families who you know, have got children with needs and what support is available, because often it's about those little finer bits of information you get from other people that really help you, you know, work out the best way of doing things, the best place to go to eat, the best play areas and everything else. Okay, so again, they often come through the early help pathway, and the paperwork on that, and then, you know, Sarah will pick them up, do initial visit, and then they'll sort of decide on a plan, and they will support children all the way through into school or an early years setting. So again, they will offer support for some of our early years settings in managing and meeting the needs of some complex needs. Okay, and they're lovely, they're very friendly and approachable. We all are.
Thanks, Claire. And then if we come on to the educational psychology service, I'm principal educational psychologist. I have been in Peterborough for far too long. 2003 I started, so I am now starting to see children of children. And we've got Sylvia Akhtar, who is our senior educational psychologist. We currently have a vacancy for senior educational psychologist, but we've split the post at the minute to try and encourage recruitment into the city, to have a 3-day-a-week senior educational psychologist and a 3-day-a-week main grade educational psychologist. We're hoping that the part-time working might entice some people into Peterborough for us. We've got Vahida, who has been here even longer than me. And we've got Pam and Sarette, who joined at the very beginning of lockdown. So they're just starting to get into the schools properly now and get to know the settings in a real form rather than a virtual form. So you may have come across our team as you've been sort of going through and working with professionals. Within the service, we also have a psychology assistant who helps us in a lot of ways. She has just managed to get a place on the UAA training course, which she'll be starting in September. So we will have a new psychology assistant hopefully in the near future. We have Helen Capron, who some of you may have seen over the last couple of years. She is a trainee educational psychologist at the University of East Anglia, and she's currently on her year 3 placement. And we are delighted to say that she's going to be joining the service in September to our vacant EP post that you see there. And we also have Eloise, who is with us as a year 1 trainee. She has to do some placements across local authorities in her year 1 before she goes into longer placements in year 2 and year 3 in probably another local authority. We have a commitment to try and train educational psychologists because there is a shortage. So we are helping the future of educational psychology, providing placements. And we really appreciate all of the support that the settings and parents give to them for us. The educational psychology service works on a traded services model with schools for the early intervention work, which means that schools subscribe to us once a year. They look at what the need is in school, and then they decide how much of our psychology time they would like. To be able to access that, the schools have a school planning meeting, which we do with the SENI Services, but we also have some planning meetings across the year, so if the needs change within the school, we can plan for that. Our involvement within schools is via the school Senko. So if you have concerns, that's the person that you would need to talk to as part of that graduated approach. For parents and carers and for young people over 16 who are in a college setting, we also have a parent and carer and young people consultation service. This runs on a Tuesday, once a month in term time. It's on a rotation basis, and the details are on our local offer as well. To access that, you email the Educational Psychology Service at eps.peterborough.gov.uk, and then they will set up the appointments and the consents to be able to set that appointment up with the psychologist. The Educational Psychology Service run a number of training opportunities for schools. We have emotional literacy support assistants, where we train TAs or staff in school to support children with emotional literacy. And then we also offer ongoing supervision for those staff. We also offer support in working memory and precision teaching within schools, and some of you may be aware of those approaches with your children. We have, and this is what I was trying to pull up whenever my screen went a bit funny, and I'll see if it let me do it. And Louise has asked for the service to provide some support to parents at the end of July with managing challenging behaviour using emotion coaching. And Helen, our fabulous psychology assistant, is going to be running, our trainee is going to be running that. And you can book through with Louise. Will you be sharing the details of how to book onto this course? Because you're running the booking system for it. Okay, so if you would like further details, you can ask Louise for the flyer.
Yeah, I think Louise will share the flyer, and we will share with parent carers and community leaders.
So the hope is that we would be able to give a group of parents some strategies which they can use. It has been planned right at the end of term for a reason, because it will all be fresh in your minds to get you through the summer. So that's the hope. So please have a look at the flyer, see if you're interested, and see if you have the time on the 21st to come along. Obviously, the other part of our service delivery is a big part. We offer statutory services for the local authority, where whenever a child is going through an education healthcare needs assessment, we would provide psychological advice, where we would work collaboratively with the schools, your child and yourselves, to look at the needs and strengths, and then plan appropriate outcomes and provision. Have you any questions that you wanted to ask of the psychology service?
Are there any questions? Are there any questions to Alison?
I can't see anything popping up in the chat. That's lovely. And likewise, at the bottom of the brochure, you will see who is the link psychologist to each of the schools. Each school has a link psychologist, whether they subscribe to the service or not. So that information is provided in the grid at the bottom of the document.
Thank you, Alison.
Okay. Katie, would you like me to buzz up to your service?
Yes, please, that would be great. So sorry I was late this morning, so apologies for that. So just looking at SAMS, so SAMS is the Statutory Assessment and Monitoring Service. So we really cover all the statutory work in relation to education, health and care needs assessments and the monitoring of plans. So we have divided our assessment and review officers into smaller teams within the team, the wider service. So we have assessment officers and we have review officers. So we have two full-time assessment officers, and they deal with any statutory assessment work from week 6 all the way through to if we get to week 20. We also have an officer that works with the first 6 weeks of any assessment requests. That was really in response to feedback that we received around better communication, and also in response to trying to lower the number of mediation decisions and tribunals so that we were making the right decisions at the right time. So that 0 to 6 week officer looks at all of the information that has been received and requested at notification stage from various agencies to see if there's anything missing, because we were finding that sometimes we were going to mediations and we had just been missing some information that we could have quite easily have got, say, for a provision timetable or something like that. So it is really in the hope to help that, and also so that parent carers have a better lines of open communication. We have actually opened a survey following that, and we've had really good feedback from parent carers around the 0 to 6 week process, and the fact that they really did feel that the process was explained to them, and that and next steps after the decision as well. So that's our assessment side of the service. We have the review side, so we have the monitoring officers, and they undertake all of the work relating to annual review. So they're split slightly into phase transitions and non-phase transitions, and I will the phase transition work. So we have 3 seniors within the team as well. So we have a senior officer with responsibility for assessment work, 1 for transition work, and 1 for monitoring and review work. So we have just over 2,200 plans across the city at the moment. So you can imagine the amount of work that's involved in terms of getting them all reviewed. So we have 3 full-time review officers, and although we have 3 transition officers, it's only actually half their time that is working on reviews, because the rest of their time is spent doing other work, which Jess will explain if she hasn't already. So we've got the equivalent of 4.5 full-time officers reviewing just over 2,200 plans. I'm pleased to say that we're in a really good position for our annual review. So we were very transparent previously around the backlog. We had an annual review backlog action recovery plan in place, and we're now working fairly up to date. We are about 85% compliant in terms of communicating the decision following annual review as to whether or not we're going to go ahead with the needs amendments or not. Apologies. So we are working really hard on that, and we're also trying to get the reviews out as quickly as possible. We've also got, you'll see there, we've got complex case and resolution manager and coordinator. So they really work around the mediations, the disagreement resolution, tribunal work, but they're also responsible for cases where we have sort of high involvement with social care and health. So children with much more complex needs that may be in an independent specialist setting. So they look after the monitoring of those placements, as well as undertaking the resolution work. We have, you'll see there, a post-16 preparing for adulthood lead. So Elizabeth, her work is really around that and developing the 5-day offer along with health and social care colleagues. She does a lot of work with various PFA subgroups around travel training and various bits and pieces like that. And some of you may have come across Elizabeth before. We are very well supported by our team of SAM assistants across the bottom. So they are the team that deals with all the correspondence in and out of the service. So all of the plans, assessments, letters, emails to the generic inbox, phone calls is all dealt with by the SAM assistants. So they work very hard to ensure our compliance, as you know, with reference to timescales, etc. That's really in a nutshell. Unless anybody's got any questions, I can hand you over to Jess in case. Jess, have you already done the bit about the last team?
No, not yet, actually. No, I'll start this now. So yeah, so the last team, the local area SENI support service, was really just myself and the systems and practice lead, which is now Sully, but slowly over the years our team and role has grown. So the area Senko role, my post about 5.5 years ago, was new to the local authority, and then we have in our team the systems and practice coordinator. So most of you might have seen emails from Sully or Sohail, and Sully supports the coordination of communications on behalf of the SENI Inclusion Service. That might be our fortnightly communications to wider stakeholders and settings. We also ensure that updates and comms are put out to our head teachers in briefings, including coordinating our SEN forum, our SENCO network, our hub network, conferences that we hold, that we used to pre-COVID hold annually. Sully is responsible for that, including updating our local offer, CAMS Learn Together website, etc. So Sully is very busy, but if you do not receive communications from Sully, please do let me know, and we can get you on that mailing list. And within our team as well, part of kind of a matrix management as well, we have the transition officers. Now their role is 2 years in. The creation of the transition officer role was actually on the back of our Ofsted that we had, our initial Ofsted several years ago. So we built capacity within the SAMS team to, and they have really a dual role. They are responsible for the cases of children in those transition year groups. So for example, year 2 infants, year 5, year 6, years 9, 10 and 11. So they ensure that not just that the plans are rigorous, but that those children and young people have their next phase, their next setting named by the statutory deadlines on the 15th of February and the 31st of March. And that is really to ensure that those children, young people know where they're going to. So for example, our year 11s, it's very, very important that they know the next phase in their education to post 16. So we want to ensure that they know by the 31st of March, the national statutory deadline, that we have finalised their EHCPs naming, not just type of setting, but the setting which they're going to. And that then enables not just young people and families to support them, but also wider stakeholders, social care, health, etc. So we're very proud that in the last 2 years since the creation of this role within the SAMS team, our numbers have been top in the country in finalising plans. That is also for our year 6s as well. So it's very key for our year 6s to know where their secondary education is. The transition officers will try their utmost to attend, for example, all of those reviews for the transition children, young people. So we encourage for our year 6s the reviews, the robust reviews to happen in year 5, summer term, where the transition officers contact all settings that they're working with and try to ensure that they are in attendance at those annual reviews with parents' consent. And that will then not just ensure that, you know, they're taking place, because they must be taking place, but it's also that training element that they bring along to those reviews. So we have nationally had some turnover of SENCOs within the city. There's also been movement within senior leadership teams in schools naturally, and therefore when they are in attendance at the reviews, they can model and support what a good annual review looks like. They are also responsible, following on from Ofsted several years ago, for our new multi-agency statutory processes training. They have over the last 2 years ran 8 training sessions per term to a wide range of stakeholders. So they run a training session to governors, to health, to wider agencies, to parent carers and young people, to head teachers, to SENCOs, etc. We have kept the sessions separately to begin with because people want to ask questions and didn't want to feel silly in front of other audiences, but we might merge that together moving forwards. However, we've had a fantastic turnover at these sessions. So for example, last month the team ran some training for health. These are co-produced and then co-delivered statutory process training. So we cover everything from the basics to do with the EHCPs, annual reviews. This has been in partnership with the SENI Partnership Service with Family Voice themselves. And last month we had most of the neurodevelopmental team attend. So Peterborough Neuro team attend both our level 1 training and then our level 2 training, which was more of an in-depth dive into annual reviews and advices. And that really, the outcome of these sessions are to build resilience, but consistency when it comes to the statutory processes. So we're all speaking the same language, albeit it's in the code of practice, but we also myth bust and troubleshoot and support to ensure our children and young people receive the right paperwork provision and it's timely. So yes, that is they're doing a fantastic job. Has anyone attended this training from Family Voice? Can anyone put it in the chat if has anyone attended it? Or have you heard of this training?
Yeah, yes, I've attended.
Thanks, Deborah. Has anybody else or heard of it or attended from Family Voice? No. Okay.
I think the sessions do come up quite regularly as sort of meetings for us to attend. So I imagine that other people have actually been on board with them. I've only attended one, but I'd be quite happy to attend others.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because out of the sessions that we held this term, the health has been had a really high turnout. Senko's massive turnout again. Head teachers were, years ago would only get 1 or 2 head teachers joining, but now we're getting really high amounts of head teachers who have joined or done it already. But the family session that we held last month, there wasn't any attendees. So really, this is my question to Family Voice and to parent carers in this chat. We send the flyers out through Family Voice and wider stakeholders, but if it's the times or dates that weren't working, or it's actually the communication isn't getting to you, if you could put it in the chat, we can look to review our statutory training for families to make sure it works.
I was at another meeting a week or 2 ago, which Louise attended, and I think it was mentioned then, the lack of attendance from families. So I think Louise is aware of it and will probably be sort of looking at why that might be happening as far as she can. I mean, sometimes it is hard to get people on board.
Yeah, well, and it's just and it's great just why we've got a few parent carers in here just to ask for feedback, really. But yeah, so we have raised it. We are going to look into those statutory processes. I'm sure as a family going through it, the acronyms and processes might feel like a minefield to begin with. So we want to be there to hold your hands really and to support you from the very, very beginning with what the process is and what it means. So yeah, that is the service there. And we do a multitude of things. And now actually Helen McGann, we have now got Helen's photo and she's in the chat. We've now appointed to the new hub coordinator and school support role. So as Claire Nunn mentioned earlier, we have 14 SEND hubs across the city, and they are all centres of expertise in certain areas of SEND. Some have places, some don't. Those who do have those more specialist places, again, I'm saying again, but I haven't mentioned this before, those children or young people have an EHCP and they go through SEND panel, and then if they meet guidance for a place in our specialist hub, then we do have places. And each hub has what's called a service level agreement, which we monitor here. We work with our settings and ensure that training is delivered across the city to meet the needs and build resilience. So yeah, that is our team in a nutshell. Any questions? No? Lovely. We wear lots of hats in our logo, in our last team. But yeah, I'll stop talking now. Right, who is next there, Alison?
It will be Marion, if I can find. Here we go.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So additional to the SENI service is the SEN Partnership Service, which is impartial to the local authority and to health and social care, but gives advice and support to parents of children and young people with special educational needs and the young people themselves. So sitting in a wider brief from the SEN Inclusion Service, but actually working quite closely with them in a lot of respects, because a lot of the parents and young people that we engage with as a service also have input from other services that you've heard of this morning. So our role is to provide impartial advice and information about special educational needs and disabilities, and that's across both health, social care and education. We give advice and support to parents and young people about their rights to ensure their educational needs are met within whichever setting they are in. The service goes from 0 to 25 and covers the whole age group. We can inform and signpost parents and young people onto other support services and other organisations. So one of the big no-nos that we don't do is we don't fill out forms for disability living allowance or PIP or any of those. We signpost parents or young people if they want further help onto other services who can. We can also advise and support parents and young people in resolving disagreements, and that's with schools or whatever setting they're in, colleges, early years. It can be with education, it can be with the local authority in general, it can be with social care or health. And it's about parents and the young people having their own rights and their voice being heard in all of this. We support parents through those disagreements with any of the statutory services that the local authority has in place. So for an education, health and care plan, we can support parents through that process. And if at any time the local authority makes a decision that the parent or the young person is not happy with, they have rights of appeal, and we can guide them and support them through those processes, which is mediation or tribunal. We can also give advice and support regarding the law around special educational needs. So we've got a vast role. We're a very small team. There are only 2 of us. We also do some cross-border work with our colleagues in Cambridgeshire. And so sometimes we will support across their border, and sometimes they will support across ours, depending on where the parent or the young person lives. So that's just a very quick guide around our service. There is details on the screen about how to contact us, phone or email, and we do our best to try and get back to parents as soon as possible. Obviously, as there are only 2 of us, that can be sometimes slightly delayed, and we do apologise for any delay, but we just do our best to come back as soon as possible. Most of our work now, as with a lot of the services, is remote. It obviously has been over the last couple of years, and we've continued to deliver that in a remote way. So we still attend meetings, but we are usually have remote access, but we do things on a case-by-case basis. So there's no decision made that we will never go and do face-to-face meetings, but obviously they are much more time consuming. And if we can provide an equally good service to parents from a remote situation, that's where we will continue to deliver. Any questions? Or have I stunned everybody in silence?
Thank you very much, Marion. I think you've stunned everybody
I've
into silence.
Stunned everybody into silence. That's fine by me. Thanks, Alison.
Has anybody else got any questions from the service? Everybody's in silent.
Yeah, nobody wants to ask something. Yeah.
Oh, let's see, we've got something in the chat.
We have in a chat, yeah. So Agnieszka is asking, do you have good annual review of EUCP?
I presume that's come to my service. This is Marion again. Yes, we can assist parents with that. We can give them advice and guidance before their annual review, or we can take part in their annual review with them if they request that. They just need to get in touch with us. Please don't assume that because as a parent, you've been given information from the local authority or the school that your annual review is coming up, that we will automatically be involved. We can't. That has to be by the invite of the parent or the young person.
Okay, there's also a question, like you were meeting in school with parents and teachers on that day.
Yep, we do. I think they're asking if we do go into schools. Yes, we do, and we meet with parents and teachers. That's absolutely fine, but we can also help. They could be general meetings regarding any issues that was going on for a child with a special educational need. However, we also go into the reviews as well.
Thank you, Marion. Agnieszka, are you happy with the answer, or you want to ask something more?
Good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Marion.
Thank you. That's lovely. Are there any more questions? That's lovely. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, this morning, and we look forward to working with you all.
Thank you for our wonderful speakers, and thank you for your very informative presentations to parent carriers and to Family Voice Peterborough. So thank you to everyone for your time today. And also I would like kindly ask everyone after this event to fill up the feedback forms for us, because it's very, very important to have your feedback, getting the funding to run more sessions like this. And also I would like to ask just to invite also everyone to our next Seldenhood Communities meeting. It will be 5th of June from 11 to 2 p.m. It will be face-to-face meeting at Autumn Goldhay, Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So we would like to bring communities together, professionals together, and just to celebrate. So the invitation will be sent very soon to this meeting. Meeting will be free to attend, but everyone will have to book, and the booking link will be sent also with the invitation together. So once again, thank you to everyone for today, and this session is over now. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.